TikTok in church.
These kids and their TikTok, boy, they are addicted.
Hey, baby. What are you doing? Oh, look at that little smile. I love that smile. They look so cute today. How do you do it? Sweet boy.
Barely. Barely make it.
Say hey. Y'all just always look so put together.
We're not on the inside. It's just an illusion. Hey, when we pulled up this morning, he was talking about Kelsey, hey, night. That's all we know.
Good morning, welcome to the warehouse as we celebrate Father's Day. Please stand with us. We're going to ask the Lord to open up the heavens this morning. We know He's walking among us. We ask that His presence be made known. For this day, we've gathered in Your name. We're calling out to You. For Yours like a fire, awakening desire will burn our hearts true. Your love is within. Your love is we're singing. Open up the heavens, we want to see You. Open up the floodgates, a mighty river flowing from Your heart and filling every part of our praise. Your presence in this place, Your glory's on our face. We look into the sky, descending like a cloud. your glory. Show us your power. Show us your glory, Lord. Open up the heavens, we want to see you. Open up the floodgates, a mighty river flowing from your heart, filling every part of our brain. Open up the heavens, we want to see you. Open up the floodgates, a mighty river flowing from your heart, filling every part of our brain. Show us your glory. Show us your power. Show us your glory, Lord.
For a second. Thank you so much for joining us for worship this morning on this rainy day. We have several announcements and things going on today. It's a busy day and a busy week at our church. First thing I want to announce this morning, with great pleasure, we have a new pastor that has started today. Welcome, Peter Vermeulen, over here. So we're excited to have Peter with us this morning as he and his family start their appointment here at CUMC. The next thing we have going on, put up the slide because I can't remember what order I put them in. Oh, after the service today, please join us over in the social hall for Father's Day. We're having a breakfast this morning that's catered. Deborah and Hollis Sanders are doing it. They always do a really good job. So come on over and celebrate our fathers. Peter will be over there. You can have a chance to meet him. Also, when we leave this morning, if you're a father or a grandfather, we have a small gift for you. Make sure you get one on the way when you leave. The third slide, which I do think I remember, is Bible school. We have Bible school starting tomorrow night at 6 o'clock. K4 through 6th grade, K4 through 6th grade. How can you help with this? Number one, be in prayer. Number two, invite. They don't have to be in this church. Any child that you know in the community, grandchildren, nieces and nephews, please invite them. They can just show up. We'll make sure they get registered. We are providing a meal that night, so each night the program's going to last for a couple of hours. We're going to have some of the band playing, games, food, lessons. So we always have a good time here with...
Giant water slide the Wednesday night.
Oh, I didn't know about the giant water slide. And a giant water slide on Wednesday night for the last night. So please come out with that, and again, help us by inviting. If you're interested in volunteering in some form or fashion, please see Brenda. She can certainly use all the help you can get. And please come out with that and be in prayer for that. That starts tomorrow night, 6 o'clock. We're going to watch a video here in a second. First, for our offering this morning, you on the back table will find a basket and a bucket. Basket is for your tithe to the church or your offering. You can also give that through Venmo this morning, which is the app on your phone. There's also buckets back there. That money is where a lot of people put change and dollar bills and things like that. We use that money for local mission projects in the church. We've been doing the last year what we call Feed the Need every quarter or so. And we use that money to support that ministry and some other local ministries. So we're going to watch a video, and after the video, we'll have one more song, and then we'll hear from people.
When you're a dad, you have to play a lot of roles. Hey, 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 don't eat that! Don't tap on the brake! Lordy. All right. Oh, you're good. Take a left, turn left, turn left, turn left. When a man loves a woman, he... Honey! All right, sweetie. This time I want you to concentrate and focus on the ball. You got this. Oh! Sweetie, your date's here. 2 weeks, no TV, no phone. This is my door in my house. I told you not to slam it. You get the door back when I say you get the door back. I told you before. Don't slam the door in my house. Hey, knock it off. Don't let me turn this car around. I'll do it. What are you wearing? No, you're not going anywhere looking like that. Go on back upstairs and put some clothes on. Oh! Got it. Ooh, sweet, open the door, get the door, get the door, get the door, get the door, open the door, sweetie, open. Bye. And Jesus steps in and stops everybody before they start throwing the rocks, and he says, let he who's without sin throw the first stone. You do all of this knowing that one day you will get fired, because we all get fired, but by the grace of God, you might get hired back to be a consultant. Hey, sweetie. What's up?
Please stand with us.
I'm surrounded by you. This is how I fight my battles. 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 This is how it may look like I'm surrounded, but I'm surrounded by you. It may look like I'm surrounded, but I'm surrounded by you. It may look like I'm surrounded, but I'm surrounded by you. It may look like I'm surrounded, but I'm surrounded by you. This is how I fight my battles. This is how I fight my battles. This is how I fight my battles. This is how. This is how I fight my battles. This is how I fight my battles. This is how I fight my battles. This is how. It may look like I'm surrounded, but I'm surrounded by you. It may look like I'm surrounded, but I'm surrounded by you. It may look like I'm surrounded, but I'm surrounded by you. It may look like I'm surrounded, but I'm surrounded by you.
Thank you. You can have a seat, and now we'll invite Peter up.
Good morning, all you beautiful people. Welcome. I am a wee bit nervous, so please forgive me. I don't know if you recognize my southern accent ain't quite like yours. That's because I'm from the deep south. I'm from South Africa originally, and I got the joy and the pleasure of being your pastor for the next while, as long as you can stand me, or sit me, whichever you prefer. I'm supposed to be speaking to Father's Day today, and I thought about that for a while because, you know, when I used to study with other preachers, they'd say, you know, we're not going to do Father's Day because some people don't have a good relationship with their father, and others say, yeah, but you need to do it because some people have fathers. And then I watched this fellow, one of my favorite preachers. It's a wonderful day in the neighborhood. Won't you be my neighbor? Won't you be my friend? And he did a movie about a man that had a terrible relationship with his father, and he said, you know, no matter how much you have a relationship with your father, some of him has affected you in one way or another. And so I'm going to speak to that a little bit, but the Bible verse that I'd like to use to speak to it comes from John's Gospel, chapter 4. And it starts out with a old King James word that I don't think gets enough credit. In fact, I do a whole sermon on it, on the words beloved. So before we start, I want you to realize you are the beloved of God. And my whole thesis and my whole reason for being here today and for the next couple of years, if nothing else, is to convince you that you are the beloved of God. For us that speak modern English, that means God loves you. I just like the way I say it in old English. I'm the beloved of God. In John's Gospel, chapter 4, verse 7, he says, Beloved, let us love one another, because love is from God. Everyone who loves is born of God and knows God. Whoever does not love does not know God, for God is love. God's love was revealed among us in this way. God came as His only begotten Son into a world so that we might live through Him. Behold, or beloved, since God has loved us so much, we also ought to love one another. And then later on he says, I am the true vine, and my Father is the vine giver. He removes every branch that bears no fruit, and every branch that bears fruit, He prunes to make a better and healthier fruit. Those are my two verses I'm going to try to bring to bear. In our little video there, we noticed that there was a father that was trying to love, and some of it was a little bit more healthy than others. I remember my daddy taking us to church in the Puget, and he would turn around and say, "Stop smiling! We're going to church. Why are you so happy? I'm going to wipe that smile off your face before we get there." And I'm like, have I missed something yet? And so he made going to church like taking out the trash, but it's not supposed to be like that. We need to learn to love one another. And what happens in life is sometimes we learn to love like our daddies. And sometimes a lot of that isn't healthy. And sometimes some of that is healthy, and then we have to spend millions of dollars on therapy to figure out which is which. Or like me, you get the janitor's version, or the secretary's version, whoever will be willing to listen for a cup of coffee. So the first part I'd like to point out is that in Greek, love is important, and so they give it lots of words, like there's agape love, which means you're willing to die for somebody. And then there's erotic love, and if you've watched enough American TV, you figure that out pretty quickly. Yeah, I thought so. That's a love everybody likes to talk to. I don't know. And then there's brotherly love, which is phileo love, you know, brothers have for one another. And I've never quite figured that out, because my brother and I, we always fought like cats and dogs. Until the neighbors showed up, and then we all ganged up against the neighbors, and when we were through with the neighbors, we went back to fighting like cats and dogs, right? Any brothers over here love your brother with in a Jesus-eating kind of way? So that's the kind of love the Greeks give. The problem with that is you don't get to die for your neighbor every day. And number two, beating up your brother, it really doesn't help with the healthy love thing. And erotic love, well, until you reach puberty for the next couple of years, until you get married, that's kind of there for a while, and then it peters out, and when you get to my age, you kind of wonder what happened, and you have grandkids and such like. So I came up with some secrets to what love is. Stuff that I think is important, that takes you to a deeper level. And the first one, that's why I didn't write it down because I couldn't remember, is the power of thought. You have to actually put it in your brain that you actually want to love somebody. You know, there's many times I'm riding down the road and I'm trying to be loving, and you get cut off, and then they give you that sign language, and then you're trying to figure out what the loving response is. Well, you know, when a woman cuts me off from now on, you know what I do? I used to give them the other signs, and I can't share them, but I got real Christian-like, and I did the she told me she wanted to do something. Well, give me a call. But you have to have in your heart and mind that you want to love somebody. You need to choose, you know. When you're lying in bed there and your wife is snoring, my wife's not here, so I can say it, and she's got that honky breath, and she's taking up the whole room, and she's got all the covers. You've got to have it in your heart and mind that you want to love her, which is important. And I promise you, it is not easy to do. And then Jesus said, you know, it's easy to do that kind of love. But if you really want to be a Christian, you have to put in your thought and mind to come up to learn to love people that are your enemies. Now that's the part where it's horrible. I came to America and I was trying to teach my son and everything about loving neighbors and that, and some boys started to get in their mind they wanted to bully my son. My son's 6'9", 6'7", size 15 shoe. He just doesn't like to play football and get hurt. He doesn't like basketball or anything. He likes to play the trombone and guitar. He's kind of real artsy and kind of... Well, one day he was sitting in school and he was practicing on this thought, thinking, you know, loving your neighbor, when some young little bully thought my son was a pushover because he was a Christian, because he was the son of a pastor. And he took his fork and he jammed them into my son's chicken nuggets. I think it was chicken nuggets. We never figured that one out. And isn't that way to judge somebody at school, right? Eating your friend's chicken nuggets, or you know, I mean that's them fighting words right there. And so my son said, "Look, here's some nuggets. Take them. I really don't want to have trouble today." And the guy said, "You want a piece of me?" And my son said, "No, you're not very tasty. Just take the nuggets and go." And my son was really upset, and he was trying very hard to do that loving thing and thinking it hard. Then the guy took a swing at my son. And my son grabbed his hand, and he was like a little rabbit in the briar patch with Tar Baby. And he was holding on there, and he was trying to hit my son, and my son was holding his hand. So he decided he'd use his other free hand and try and hit a 6'7" boy's hand with his other hand. And there he was stuck like this, and my son held him and just about put him on his knees and said, "It's enough. It's over. You need to stop before I hurt you." And he was about in tears. And then the football coach came over and the guy got expelled for a week. But at that moment, my son was my hero, because he could have responded with all the anger and hate. He could beat the snot out of that little boy, but he didn't. He responded with love. And that comes from a mindset that takes practice. The second secret is the power of respect. In life, we are not going to meet people that like us all the time. Right now, statistics, I know you're not going to like this, but 40% of you might already be at that point where like, he's got to go. And I just got you. I might even be at 90%. Who knows? But there is this idea of respect. I have had many, many times where I've worked with people that didn't like me. I've been at schools where my teacher didn't like me. And I had to spend the whole year learning how to live with a teacher that didn't like me. There's something to be learned about respecting people that don't like you, and working with them, and tolerating them, and trying to be kind to them without being sarcastic. Then there is the idea of giving. I found very quickly that if I want to get lots of work out of my secretary, and my children, and my wife, and my friends, and my enemies, take them out to eat. Feed them, and you'll win their hearts. Feed them what they like, and you'll be doing really well. But also, give them little notes of thank you. Just leave a note, say thank you, you did such a wonderful job. Thank you for trying. Boys and girls, if you want to impress your mom and dad, write them a note and tell them thank you for breakfast. Thank you for this. Thank you for my new shoes. And you'll be amazed how they become putty in your hand. Husbands and wives, you know, we get married, and when we first get married, if you were like me, you open the door because, you know, you think you're doing a wonderful job. My wife liked cheeseburgers. I would take the cheeseburgers and fries. And then that stuff starts to go away, you know. But I found that every once in a while, not kind of mushy-gushy, but just leave a little note. Yeah, honey, I love you. Put it in their lunchbox, you know. Leave it in their Bible. Maybe put it in the shower. Just a little note, something to remind them that even after all these years, you still love one another. Men, you can never tell your children too much that you love them. I grew up in a manly home. My daddy used to like to not hug. He was a rugby player. Tough life. And I would go and visit him, and then one day I learned you could hug other men. And I was in Johannesburg Airport, and I put my arms around him, and I said, Dad, you know, I was bigger than him. And I said, I love you. I know you don't like me hugging you, but I love you. And I turned around and started to walk away, not knowing if I'd seen him again for a long time. It's usually 4 or 5 years. And my wife said, behind my back, he said, I love you too. You know, if you've never heard that from your father, that means a lot. And so I did that with my son, you know. My son said, Dad, don't do that. I'm at school. So we came up with a little rule. Whenever I dropped him off, I said, how about them lines? Which meant, I love you. And my son would look at me and say, how about them lines? And I would know that every Sunday, every day that I dropped him for school, you love me. This is the power of friendship. When I talk about friends, I'm not talking about acquaintances. You know, in your life you will have many, many acquaintances, but in real life you'll have maybe 4 or 5 true friends. I found that out the hard way. In Bible college, you know, where everybody is a Christian and everybody is nice, I used to get me pizza to study for the Bible exam. And I'd have about 40, 50 men come in there and eat my pizza and tell me how they were my friend. And when the pizza was gone, my friends disappeared. Ever heard about that prodigal son? Be careful who you call friend, because they will not always love you. Number 5th is the power of touch. It's okay to hug. I mentioned that with my daddy. It's okay to hug your children. I am told, men, that if you hug your daughter appropriately, and you take care of your daughter appropriately, and you treat her like you want other men to treat her, you will spoil it for other men, because when those men show up and all they want is a little bit of fun, you won't need the shotgun, because she'll turn around and say, my daddy taught me better than that. You ain't no man. And if you keep messing with me, I do have a daddy with a shotgun, just in case. And a bunch of friends at church. So teaching your daughters and your sons appropriate touch is very important. The power of communication. You know, once people used to think you could just say whatever you wanted to people at work, and you can treat people the way you want. When I talk about communication, I talk about talking respectfully. But I also mean have congruent in your speaking. It's okay to speak and share that you're angry, but you need to do it in appropriate ways. You can't stand there and scream and yell at people and expect them to listen to you. They're just not going to put up with that abuse. The same in families. You know, it is okay to fight. The Bible says be angry and sin not. But it also says you need to fight fairly. So when you get into a fight, number one, make sure both are up to it. You know, in my family, I want to get it resolved right then. My wife's not ready. I have to give her some time to get her mind around it and calm down. Then we sit down and we actually have to listen to each other. And when we listen to each other and we're fighting fairly and we're communicating like we should, that means you give that person the time to tell you what is bothering them, that's made them angry, without coming up with a response. You can't listen at the same time you're trying to come up with a better defense. Don't be historical. Not hysterical, historical. Bring back up the past. Just listen. Then the other person says, is this what you said? And you make sure that you heard them clearly. Because you might not have heard what they really were saying. And then at both sides, share what was going on. And then find a solution by healthy communication. Communication is important if you really love somebody, especially when life is difficult. I would add to that commitment. I've noticed today, many people say, you know, if it doesn't work out, I'll just leave. In my house, my wife tried to leave me 3 times. And every time I climbed in that car and said, where are we going? And then my wife has returned the favor. Why? Because we committed to each other. And no matter how big the problems are in our life, we have decided to stick with them. My wife has A1C, cirrhosis of the liver. Her MELD score is now close to 20, and she struggles. She sleeps a lot. She has a hard time packing and unpacking. She has a hard time eating. She has to take her medicine. And we don't allow her to cook because she'll fall asleep on the cooking, which is not a good thing. She can burn water. But I've made a commitment to my wife, no matter how sick she gets, or healthy she is, or whatever she goes through in life, that I would stick with her because she's my friend. That was a good husband or father does. Here comes the other one. Some people are boring. Have passion about your children. Be excited about what they're doing. Brag on them. Put their junk on your fridge. Put it in your car. Put it in your billfold. One day my son, I embarrassed him no end. He played a trombone solo for church. And I said, that's my son. That's my boy. I'm proud of him. He's the coolest thing ever. And he didn't like it. But I was proud of him. Because you see, God's proud of you. And everything you do for Jesus and God, He's proud of you. And He's shouting from heaven, that's my girl. That's my boy. That's my daddy. I'm excited about what He's doing in your life. And He brags on you to the angels. Finally, if you do these things, you will develop a deep trust. You will have a deep friendship. You will have a deep relationship with your spouse and your children that nothing can shake. I believe that Life isn't easy. Life is hard. And we all bring and get broken in so many different ways. And I believe that when you bring that to church and you share it in your little family, that God can break through and bring healing other in healthy ways. So I pray that you have a wonderful Father's Day. If Dad isn't quite around, or if Dad's around way too much, that'll still be okay, and that you'll have a wonderful time. If your dad's quirky, that's okay. Love him anyway. God the Father is. And then take time to spend time with your daddy in heaven, because he does love you. At this time we're going to have our last song, and then I will share a few words of benediction.
Thank you so much for that, Peter. Please stand with us. We're going to close out the service. Please make sure you walk over to the social hall afterwards and join us for breakfast. And fathers and grandfathers, make sure you pick up your gift on the way out.
Show me your ways.
for listening without throwing any tomatoes, eggs, or such like. I was kind of worried for a while. But I'd like to leave you with a thought for today, and it's this. God's love and God's grace is greater than all the brokenness and hurt in this world. And God's love and God's grace is greater than all the brokenness and hurt in me and in you. Go in that knowledge. In the name of the Father, the Son, and Holy Spirit. Amen.
Your glory's like a fire, awakening a desire will burn our hearts with truth. Love is real. You're the reason we're singing. Open up the heavens, we want to see you. Open up the floodgates, a mighty river flowing from your heart, and filling every part of our praise. Your presence in this place, with glories on our face, we're looking to the sky. We're singing